we'll be giving you all our instant thoughts on the biggest event of the Marvel year.
Until the next one.
Until the next one.
Until Ms. Marvel comes out.
And the Multiverse of Madness. Now, we're going to talk about this movie. We understand that this is a Friday. And being that this is a Friday, it means some of you guys have not gotten the chance to get off your asses and go see the movie yet. We're going to give you the spoiler warning, but I'm going to extend this spoiler warning. This spoiler warning doesn't just exist on this podcast. This is a spoiler warning on socials. This is a spoiler warning on Facebook. This is a spoiler warning on Reddit. Here at the Midnight Boys, we cannot control the discussions that the community has. But here, right now, Steve, give it to me. We're getting ready to talk about Strange. You're listening to a reaction podcast. The spoilers are coming. All right. Of course, to begin our reactions, as always, Charles will give you the Midnight Manifest into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, giving you all the need to know about this particular Marvel film. Charles, take it away.
Guys, this is the Midnight Manifest for the Multiverse of Madness, directed by the legend himself, Sam Raimi, written by Michael Waldron. Currently at a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes as it's May 5th. All right. So the plot of this movie is going to get wonky. An alternate universe Strange, I'm going to call Defender Strange, and America Chavez are being chased by a monster in the Gap Junction, which is a space between universes. Strange and America are in search of the book of Vishanti, which will grant you anything you need for any type of problem. But the monster mortally wounds Strange and tries to steal America's multidimensional powers. Strange tries to double-cross America and also steal her powers, but is unsuccessful. Then America, who can't control her powers, opens a portal to the 616 universe, which the duo escapes to. Our Doctor Strange awakes from this nightmare and attends the wedding of Christine. Strange and Christine have a back and forth where Christine admits that, like, hey, it's not going to work out because you always want the knife, which is a metaphor. Shumagorath then attacks America Chavez and by extension the city, and Wong and Strange save her. America gives Strange and Wong the download on the multiverse and why she's being chased. Strange goes to Wanda for help, but realizes, like, damn, bitch, you using the Darkhold, which is an ancient book of witchcraft, to find the multiverse where she can be with her sons, Billy and Tommy, who she created with magic, and all this shit happened in WandaVision. I'm not going to go over it. Wanda issues an ultimatum to Strange that she must give up America so that she can kill her and take her power, or else she will take everyone out. Wanda attacks Carmitage, where Strange and Wong are hiding America. But America and Strange escape to Earth 838 to escape Wanda, while Strange and America are in Earth 838. A disciple of Wong destroys the Darkhold, but then through a series of events, Wong has to tell Wanda that the real spells are on Mount Wundagore. Strange and America try to find the Strange of this universe, but instead find Mordo. Mordo is the biggest hater of all time. He laces their tea, and they wake up imprisoned at the Baxter building, where this universe's Christine gives them the lowdown. Steven is then put on trial in front of the Illuminati, which is a secret organization that this Earth Strange put together. The group consists of Professor X, Captain Carter, Black Bolt, Captain Marvel, and your boy, John Krasinski, as Mr. Fantastic. The group reveals that the Strange tried to use the Darkhold to defeat Thanos, but Strange succumbed to its power, so they had to kill their Strange and now believe that all Stranges pose an existential crisis to the multiverse via incursions. We are going to explain what incursions are later. Wanda dream walks into this dimension. She murks all the Illuminati. After a brief fight with Mordo and some words of encouragement from Professor X, our Strange escapes. Then Strange America and Christine run from Wanda, are in search of the Book of Vishanti. They find the doorway to the book, but Wanda destroys it before they can use it. Wanda sends Strange and Christine to another universe and then kidnaps America. Steven has to fight an evil version of himself in the dark universe that was destroyed by an incursion. This dark Steven has use the Darkhold, and you can definitely tell. Steven and Dark Steven fight over the Darkhold, and our Steven wins. Then our Steven, with the help of Christine, uses the Darkhold to inhabit the Defender Steven's corpse and save America. Yes, I know there's a lot of Stevens running around. Steven eventually gets over himself and tells America that she needs to believe in her power. America teleports Wanda to a universe where she has kids, and Billy and Tommy are terrified of this version of Wanda. This universe is Wanda tells our Scarlet Witch it'll be okay, and then Scarlet Witch kills herself in every version of the Darkhold in every universe, so these shenanigans can never happen again. Strange, Wong, and America are all one big happy family. And surprise, we're going to talk about this later. Sling Ring is harder to use than people would have thought, so Ned shouldn't have been able to use it that easily. And surprise, Steven has a third eye from fucking around with the Darkhold, and then Clea appears, which is Strange's most popular love interest in the comics, and she's like, dude, fucking with the multiverse, and we need to fix it. Guys, that is a very long and very confusing Midnight Manifest.
We'll talk about later on whether or not Clea is an upgrade. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, look, well, it's a discussion that has to be had. Come on. God damn it, Jomi.
Does it though?
Jomi, what the hell?
I see little discussion, but okay.
Whatever. All right, immediately reactions.
Oh,
Chuck Wagon.
All right, I think there's a meta part of this that definitely warmed my heart. I think Sam Raimi has even talked about it. This guy's a legend. He's definitely one of the four founders of just building superhero cinema. Van and I talked about that on the rewatchables when we rewatched Spider-Man. And I think this was kind of a coming home moment after the critical kind of evisceration of Spider-Man 3. So it was kind of cool seeing that the 62-year-old legendary director is like, yo, kids, I still got this shit. I still got the bag. I still got the magic. So there was so much joy seeing that. Like, I was just like, damn, Raimi, you doing it again. He's like Jay-Z because he's also 62. Anyway, wow. I was like, what?
Black don't crack, man.
That's an incredible fact.
I mean, Jay-Z is actually not 62, but he might as well be. Anyway.
Steve, hold on. So, Steve, did you think that Jay-Z was 62 years old?
The moment that he said
the moment
that it left my mouth, I was like, no.
I'm watching you, Steve. I keep waiting. I keep waiting for it. Just little things like that. Doesn't know how old Jay-Z is. I'm watching you, Steve. I'm watching.
He's late 40s. I know he's late 40s.
Whoa,
no,
all right, let's not do Steve this like this. Everybody throw out how old they think Jay-Z is real quick before we get back
45.
to
it. He turned 50 like a couple years ago.
Jay-Z was born December 4th, 1969.
All right, he's 52. All right, fine. Late
that
40s.
December 4th,
That's
1969
That's 52.
is Jay-Z's
I know how
birthday.
old Jay-Z.
I know you know. I know. Not only do I know how old he is, I was born on the day Fred Hampton died.
Okay,
So
all right.
December 4th, 1969 is Jay-Z's birthday. Jesus Christ. Steve, I gotta be honest with you, Steve. Watching you.
That's crazy.
Right.
I know Steve is cracking. He's staying up all night waiting for that Jack Harlow tape yesterday. He's like,
Can't
Jack Harlow.
wait till Jack
Can't
Harlow
wait.
drops. That's what he's thinking. He's thinking, fuck Jay-Z. How old is Jack Harlow, nigga? That's what he's thinking. Okay.
Anyway, so I am so happy for Sam Raimi. I think he did a lot of interesting things visually. I think as a comic book fan, I saw this twice. The first time I left the movie theater, I was like, I don't know what to think about this. I had to text some friends, text a group chat. I'm like, I don't know what to think. And I think there is a tad bit of, I thought that this movie was going to be bigger than it was. I thought that this movie was going to kind of, it was never going to be like Infinity War Endgame, but I thought it would be like maybe 75% of that in terms of like, oh shit, this is the big thing that's happening. This is going to tell us everything. We've been waiting for the multiverse. And yeah, it's just a smaller film. It's about Doctor Strange. So I think we're going to talk about that later. Van, what were your immediate thoughts on this movie?
The movie was a fun time in the movies, for sure. It was definitely a fun time in the movies. I think the question about my thoughts about the movie have to do with the next question. Okay? I enjoyed the Sam Raimi of this. I didn't think that we were going to get a zombie Strange, even though I saw him in the trailer. That was a little trick. Strange came out as a zombie. He was actually good Strange, dreamwalking. I didn't think we were going to get a zombie Strange. I didn't think that we were going to get as many horror elements as we got. Remember,
Yeah.
that there was some talk that Scott Derrickson left the movie because he didn't get it a chance to make it a full-fledged horror movie. I still feel like there was some really cool horror elements in this movie when Wanda is chasing America, Christine, and Strange. Wanda's all-consuming sort of need to fulfill her purpose in this movie became scary at some point. I guess it became something. She became something of a horror movie villain. And a lot of the other quirks of Sam Raimi in the movie kept me in it the whole way, and I enjoyed it. I think the question of, do you feel like our expectations were set too high for this movie, is the central question to your enjoyment of Multiverse of Madness. So, I had a conversation with Joanna about this, and the conversation was Multiverse of Madness, in a lot of our minds, was going to be a watershed moment in the MCU. It was going to completely reset the universes. It's going to fold everything in on itself. We're going to leave the movie with the X-Men in play, with the Fantastic Four in play. And they were going to do it in this big, gigantic way. Well, none of that really happened. Now, you could argue that the X-Men and the Fantastic Four are in play because we got John Krasinski as Reed Richards. We got Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. But in the way that we thought that was going to happen for the movie, I asked Steve and this other person, I asked them how many X-Men did they think we would get in this movie? Because we were doing this little pre-movie game. And I was like, you think we'll get more than one? And everybody was like, oh yeah, of course we'll get more than one. You just thought that it was a sure thing that we were going to get all these mutants and all these things that were going to happen. The question is, why did we think that? You know, like the question is, why did we think that? And I thought it for so long that I don't know where I got the idea from.
Well, can I be honest though with you?
What?
So I do agree with you that expectations were high. This was actually what I had been waiting for. I don't think there's been a Marvel movie since Infinity War Endgame that I've been waiting for this long. I honestly think my hype for this was bigger than Spider-Man No Way Home because I was like, it's going to be cool to see the three Peters, but like we're getting Fantastic Four X-Men. And I think the title first, Multiverse of Madness, promises you a certain level of like, oh, there's going to be multiversal shenanigans. We're going to see shit that we've never seen before.
But
I think the fact that originally this movie was supposed to come before Spider-Man No Way Home, and then it had to be rejiggered. I was like, of course, now that it's coming after, they're going to give us even more. They have to up the stakes. We just saw the two Peters from the previous films. Like, and then when Professor X comes out in that trailer on Super Bowl Sunday, we're all like, damn, if they drop in Professor X in the trailer, they gotta have something nuts in the chamber.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just normal.
Right. Because I go back and you ask the question, if your expectations were too high. And this is my immediate reaction to the movie. If your expectations were high, the movie is disappointing. Okay, if your expectations were high in the way that this movie was going to be some gigantic, huge Marvel crossover, ridiculous event, then you were disappointed, right? If we didn't have those expectations of the film and we just viewed it as the sequel to Doctor Strange, then the movie is good to fine with some major problems that I have, that like in terms of what they did story-wise, right? I had a fun time watching the movie. The movie is not whack at all. Guys, I know that there's somebody listening to my voice right now that's so mad that I'm not overflowing with praise and glee for a movie that I absolutely, with every scintilla in my body, wanted to enjoy as much as anything. Please grow the fuck up. Like, I'm just being for real.
Jesus Christ.
Like I, as much as you have loved and devoted brain cells and inordinate amounts of time to loving this stuff, I want to love everything. I'm just saying, based upon my expectations, not the movie itself, but based upon my expectations, I was disappointed in Multiverse of Madness, and I'm sorry about it.
So before we get into the plot, one more thing. I was thinking about this because I read a quote from Kevin Feige, which was essentially he was real. He was like, "Yo, I wish they wouldn't have shown so much in the trailers." And I was thinking, would our enjoyment of the movie been a little bit higher if we knew nothing about the Illuminati, if we knew nothing, if we hadn't heard Patrick Stewart's voice, if we weren't like, there's a bunch of shit that I'm just like, oh, they showed kind of not the entire movie, but big portions of the movie in the trailer. I'm like, damn, like if I was so like if they had went to Earth 838 and Professor X had like popped out, I'd be like, God damn it. But I'm like, oh no, y'all blew your wad early, you know?
So this is what I'm saying. This, if we do a Kaliko review of this was her whole problem. There was her whole problem, as told to Johnny and Steve that night, was there was nothing that was cool in the movie that they didn't show in the trailer. But I'll tell you something else. I'm gonna ask for a clear out a little later. I'm gonna talk to the fans. Because part of this is the fans' fault.
Ooh.
Okay. Part of it is. I'm gonna talk to the fans, fan to fan. Van to fan.
Oh.
Van to fan?
Wow.
New segment idea.
Van to fan. Part of it is van to fan. All right. So we're going to also do our midnight meter ranking, of course, of this movie later on in the show, as well as our rankings of all the films of Phase 4, of everything in Phase 4. Okay. So Strange, where do we find him? Strange's arc and story. Was Strange's arc and story served in this movie? I am going to start with a dinner on this. Because, Jomi,
What's going on, pal?
the reason why I'm starting with you on this is because I have to ask you a question.
What's going on?
We have to relitigate something, Jomi. We've now seen Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Are you still standing by your assertion that WandaVision, first of all, tell people what your assertion is before I say it for you and say it wrong.
Perfect. Thank you. My assertion is that the TV shows, they are important to the MCU, not as like plot drivers. Like we're not going to get anything like crazy, like we talked about, like the X-Men Phase 4. Like none of that stuff is going to show up. But they serve a important job of letting us get to know characters more. And letting us spend more time with characters that we wouldn't ordinarily spend time with in the movies, in the proper movie canon of the MCU.
Okay. So you don't think that WandaVision was a plot driver to Multiverse of Madness?
I think her character, right, like how she was feeling, was important. You gotta listen, Charles. I see people can see, we're just on video. People can see your face. People can see your face now. I think ultimately because in the first conversation he has with Strange, right? It's a lot of, oh man, those kids you had that don't exist, that you like. She has a dream, and she wakes up and she's really sad. And if you're any person who's read any book or watched any movie, you'd be like, oh, those kids aren't real. She doesn't have those kids. Oh, that's sad. And then they spend that whole conversation talking about how her kids aren't real.
And we'll spend the whole conversation. There's one line.
It's one line.
It's one line, Joe.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's one line, whole conversation, whatever. But that was my point. That they'll mention it a little bit and then keep it pushing, right? I do think that us as fans, because remember, we're not casuals. We're deep in this stuff, right? Watching WandaVision helps us contextualize this thing perfectly. Like, oh yeah, we go from beat to beat to beat to beat, right? But the MCU, honestly, as a whole, but even in this movie, excels because even if this is your first film, you don't feel like completely out of pocket by jumping in at any point.
Yeah, that's not the point though. So I'm going to say one thing, and I'm going to actually turn this over to Steve before I get to Charles, because I know what Charles thinks.
Oh no, I'm going in. I need
okay,
some time. I need some time.
So what Charles thinks. Okay, so
I'm still right.
If it's your first movie, of course, right? If it's your first movie, but let's say it's your second movie. Let's say you saw Endgame. You saw Endgame, and then you never saw WandaVision. How do you explain, like, first of all, her even being the Scarlet Witch, which is a major plot thing that happened in WandaVision, right? She's now, so when they say Scarlet Witch and they talk about the fact that she became the Scarlet Witch, all of that stuff was realized in WandaVision. How do you explain in the movie her going from someone fighting along the side of of the Avengers,
Yeah.
right, to her coming through the whole situation, killing children and trying to kill Doctor Strange? Like, if you don't have WandaVision, I'm asking sincerely, Jomi, how does that make sense?
So Wong, they explain runes, and then Wong, when she's about to attack Kamar-Taj, is like, this is a being of just chaos, right? Not magic, witchcraft, just straight chaos, right? It's the same speech that Agatha gave us at the end of WandaVision.
After,
right? You know,
it's not
like,
though, because it is, but there was episodes of exposition that led into it. This is such a weird thing, bro. It's like
you can't admit that you're wrong.
You just can't admit that you're wrong.
Hold on,
Like,
It just makes me mad.
Because
Steve, let me ask you a question.
No, wait, hold on.
Independent rules. Steve, is Jomi wrong?
I believe that he's wrong. Yes.
Boom. We're moving on.
Okay.
No,
So-
really quick, because I've been waiting. I don't know, because Joey's been talking this shit for a while.
I'll let you get yours off. I'll let you get your take off, Charles. But my entire point, this is why the MCU has been so successful. This is why we have all this stuff. It's because it's just true.
Yo, Jomi, just admit that you are wrong. Here's the thing, Jomi.
It's a business
You talk
decision.
shit. You were talking big cash shit. You was like, all right, Disney Plus shows don't mean shit. You don't gotta watch them to watch the movies.
That's not what I said, though.
Look at
That's
everybody.
That's not what I said.
You said, look at everybody in the comments agreeing with Jomi.
I'm
Agreeing with
losing my
Jomi.
mind.
If
I
you
never
never
said
watched
they weren't
WandaVision,
important.
bro, you wouldn't know
never
what the fuck is going on in this
Yes,
movie.
you would. What?
Jomi.
I'm not saying
Jomi,
you
Jomi,
can't
Jomi,
follow it.
Jomi.
I'm not saying you can't follow it. I'm saying that they give you enough that you're like, okay,
They give you like 2
I understand.
lines.
You
Exactly.
exactly.
That's not even, hold on.
And then it's like a comic. It's
It's
literally like a comic book. They have the addendum.
Okay.
Go back and if you're like, oh, so that okay, so she had kids. Oh, you go WandaVision, you get it. Oh, this is perfect. Look at the context.
right. So, but
It's
do you
perfect.
understand? But do you understand that what you're saying, like what you're saying, basically works in almost anything? Like, so you can.
So you're saying it works. Perfect. We can move
No,
on.
what I'm saying is you're adjusting an argument and you're
I'm
looking
not
at something.
adjusting an argument. My argument was so broad. It was like
No.
if you don't watch the shows, you will be fine.
You like
That was my
here's-
argument.
Like, here's the thing, though. You're also saying the argument is, look, if you don't watch the shows, you'll be fine. The argument started from whether or not these shows will ever be as vital, right? Whether or not they'll ever be as vital. And you said this was what happened. You said they weren't meant to be as vital. I have a hard time believing that WandaVision wasn't meant to be vital when Multiverse of Madness is a sequel to WandaVision. Multiverse of Madness.
I said,
and Multiverse. I'm taking too much oxygen up because Steve hasn't spoken yet. So my bad. See?
yeah.
No, it's. I think it's fine. I think that the biggest trick that the MCU has like played on us, like pretty much since it began, is that it makes you think that you need to see everything, which is why we have seen everything. It's why a lot of people that aren't us, that don't do this for a living, have seen everything because they think they're going to miss something. And I think the only time that it actually has been true is in Multiverse of Madness. Because
Damn, Steve. Damn, Steve.
So, Jomi, is your mouth open?
Yeah.
In your mouth?
what's up?
Like in your mouth.
He's
in
proven-
your mouth.
Even regardless, he's
I-
proven me right.
Well, no, I
M-O-U-F.
think that if you have not seen WandaVision, which I don't know anybody who hasn't at this point that would ever care to see this movie, but I think to the person that hasn't seen WandaVision and has now seen this, they really don't know quite understanding why Wanda's acting the way that she is. And to be frank, I think we all have seen WandaVision and we're still not 100% sure
That's true.
why
Actually,
she has done what she does. So
look at Steve
does it
today.
end up mattering? We'll see.
I
But
didn't even need
Tyler
an
Hero
ISO
of
to
this
dismantle
podcast.
Jomi.
I
My
think
man
you guys-
Steve did it. himself.
We're like, I think
Just admit
we're
you're
just
wrong.
on
We gotta
like a
move on. We
different
gotta
level.
move on to the plot.
Jomi.
Jomi.
Here's the last thing I'll say about it. Here's the last thing I'll say about it.
You're wrong. I love you so much.
I love you,
hug
Jomi, but you
Jomi,
are.
I
I'll
appreciate
hug
you.
you
I
so
appreciate
hard.
you.
Jomi,
Here's the last thing I'll say about it.
I'll
like,
put you on my
forever.
shoulders, bro.
You can't do that. I'm way
At a
too big
concert.
for that.
At a concert.
It's not gonna happen.
because that's how much I love you.
And you'll fall. I'll break your back.
I'll take you to
dog.
Lollapalooza and I'll put you
No,
on my shoulders. How
please.
much I love you, but you're wrong.
God, no. Here's the last thing I'll say about it.
Okay.
It's just a fundamental difference in how I think. We think, like, I'm thinking about it like as if I was a business person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, like, we do have a big fan base, but there's a lot of casuals who watch this stuff.
Right.
Like, we're not thinking about those people who, like, will just drop in every so often. You have to make movies for them, too.
Right.
You can't assume they've seen everything.
Right.
So when they make the stuff, they have that in mind. You always have to keep that in mind. You guys don't think that matters, and that's cool. That's why I'm thinking we're never going to agree because it's a fundamental difference of opinion. Because I'm thinking, like, how many people was this going to be their first, second, third Marvel thing that probably haven't seen this movie? Probably releasing in countries that don't have Disney Plus, right? How you going to wager that? They're gonna sneak in some stuff.
They're going to the movies to see whatever comes out.
Right? They're
Like-
like,
I'm gonna keep it real because you got to keep it moving.
it's a fundamental difference in opinion.
Show me the minute you said we just have fundamental differences, you lost. Because anytime somebody said we just have fundamental differences, they just lost the debate. So
I
we gotta
get
think
off of
I'm
it.
right, but we just don't agree to
gotta get off
disagree.
of it. Agree to disagree. And far be it from me to ever think about movies as a business. It's not like I own a production company or anything.
Hey,
Now, now, quick, Jomi, the producer in me is going to ask to make sure that you're still recording because you banged the table pretty hard, and I got.
I'm recording like butter, bro.
All right,
It's gonna be a great video.
Butter.
great.
All right. So Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange in this movie. Charles, did you feel like he brought it as Stephen Strange, or are you getting any Benedict Cumberbatch fatigue at this point as Doctor Strange?
I don't think I'm getting any fatigue. I think the funny thing about this movie is that it's not really a showcase for him.
Yeah.
It's almost like what you've been saying about Black Panther. Like sometimes you have a movie where there's so many moving parts around him where like Benedict Cumberbatch is trying to like make sure America Chavez gets points, make sure Wong gets points, make sure Scarlet Witch has it. He's kind of the fulcrum which everything spins. And I do think that the emotional through line, the emotional story of this is kind of very interesting because Christine basically throws it back in his face with that first line of like, hey, you always need to have the knife. And we realize something about Strange is that like he sees the world in black and white. When he's in Infinity War, he only sees one way to win. And so much of this movie is that like, why are we letting this one man control so much of the universe? Does he have too much power? And I do think that like Benedict Cumberbatch in the small amount of time where he gets to like ISO does play off that very, very well.
Steve, you look like you're jumping out of your
No,
skin to
I
say
agree.
something.
That's very true from Charles. But it's the fact that question was sparked from a dude at a wedding being like, was that the only way that you could have won Endgame? And I was like, okay, regular human man, you try to figure that out.
No,
Well,
but here's the thing.
but he had lost his-
Christine kind of like, she's
I
not
know.
talking about Endgame, but she's
Right.
kind of talking about how he acts as a person and how that affects how he acts as a superhero. And throughout the movie, we realize like, yo, the reason why Steven fucks up in so many universes is because he doesn't see gray. When he thinks that there's only one way to do it, he does it. For sure.
Right. So here's the thing. But by the way, Steve, just so you check your privilege at the door, the guy that said that to him, all right, had lost his brother.
Nicodemus West, man.
So the real question that he's asking, was there any other way to do this without me having to like never see my brother again?
Yeah.
And if the answer, anybody would ask that question, right? Like if you're in a situation to where it's like, hey, this is how this had to go, and you sacrifice that much, anybody's going to be like, well, did it have to go that way? Let's say something else about Strange that's actually good writing in that same regard, is that he has to be that way. He's a surgeon. So a surgeon has to look at different entry points to whatever organ or whatever situation he's trying to solve and go, this is the way. We could go around here. We could go around there. We could go through there. We could go through there. But the way to do it is one way this is the way, and they have to be resolute and sure of themselves when they do this. So it makes sense for Stephen Strange's character that he would be like that. Another thing is the fact that he is now in a movie where things are swirling around him tells you how Marvel views Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Only a handful of characters get to be secondary in their own movie in Marvel. And when you are, that lets you know that you've reached the next level. When not everything in an Ant-Man movie, everything has to be about Ant-Man, right? Because Ant-Man is not big enough deal to go away from his movie, and they keep the drama of his situation pushing forward. The only guy that it's about him every single time is Iron Man. And that's just because that's in Tony's nature, right? Like Tony steals every scene he's ever in, anytime he's ever in that scene. But so I looked at this and the fact that they introduced America Chavez, the fact that they introduced the whole Illuminati and all of that stuff in this movie tells you how important Stephen Strange is about to be in the Marvel universe, because they're about to be films not about what he's doing, but about what's happening to him. And those are two different types of movies. Somebody say something. It's a podcast.
I think you're right about that. I think Doctor Strange has entered an upper echelon of characters into being like the future of the MCU. Like one of the, like it was Tony, Steve, and Thor, the first three phases. And I think the first pillar of, phase 4 on the MCU is Doctor Strange. And he's going to be
he's number one overall?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, I
Honestly.
definitely agree. When I was watching this, I'm like, oh, this movie is trying to convince us that Doctor Strange is now the guy. There was Tony, and now it's Strange. And he's going to be the guy where like everybody spins around him throughout these movies. I wouldn't even be surprised if he's the pillar of the Avengers.
You don't seem convinced that can happen now.
I think that this movie wants us to believe that will happen. I think that because we didn't get as much character development as we needed from Strange, like, I don't know how he would lead the Avengers. I don't know if he's the guy who's going to like be able to get them together, because he's still at the end of this movie very much like, all right, cool. It was cool America chilling with you. During Spider-Man, he's like, all right, Peter, I'll see you later. And he just goes off on his own. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about America real quick. Not our country, which has seen better weeks.
Yeah,
but America Chavez. America Chavez comes into the movie, precocious young kid, star portals. We know the powers. Let's talk about the person. Was she a good addition to this film for Strange to bounce off of? Did she play the Tony Stark, Peter Parker role to a T?
So here's the thing that I think is funny about this movie, and it's like, because we know too much about the Marvel Universe, is that we know that the release of this got messed up. That Multiverse of Madness was supposed to come first. And I feel like a lot of what they're doing with America is exactly what they did with Doctor Strange and Peter, in terms of like this kind of like father figure role, and Doctor Strange knowing too much and being so smart and mature and have to deal with this precocious person. So I think I liked America Chavez. Her powers looked cool. I liked the addition of her in this. I did kind of feel like, I'm like, yeah, this probably was supposed to be the first one out of the gate in terms of like Multiverse 101, because I kept being like, oh, these are kind of the same beats that Doctor Strange is having with Peter in terms of like having to deal with this like teenager that he doesn't know what to do with.
Joan?
I think that Xochitl Gomez, the person who played America Chavez, was great. I thought she acted against Benedict Cumberbatch really well, and I liked their energy. To Charles's point, like, yeah, it's definitely like we've seen this dynamic before. Like, we literally just saw it, but it was still refreshing, interesting, especially how that scene where he's watching her family her two moms get whisked away, and he's got to be like, hey, that's not on you. They're not dead. He was like, it was being comforting in a way. Like he wasn't for Spider-Man until the very end. And so,
he said, fuck Spider-Man.
Yeah,
really, he did.
He was being like, it was interesting. It's almost like you can thread a through line to him being like, I guess he won't remember the Spider-Man incident, but
wait, we don't think Doctor Strange remembers?
Well, remember he called him Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't remember, but we know, like, yeah, he was kind of a dick to Spider-Man for a little bit there when he found out like he messed up the spell and whatever. But with America Chavez, he was like pretty cool and pretty grounded, like, almost like even subconsciously, like he had learned, to be a little bit better about things. And so that was like a pretty nice moment of growth for Doctor Strange, I thought.
So Christine is in this movie a lot more than she's been in the prior films. Rachel McAdams. There's a lot more to do. We get a variant Christine that works for the Illuminati. She ends up going on an adventure with Doctor Strange. Okay. They're around the town. And actually, it shows you that Doctor Strange is in love with the soul of Christine because he loves Christine, whatever universe they're in. And they couldn't make it work in that universe either. And just when you think they might have a chance to make it work in this universe, she lets them know that there's no time that's ever the right time for them. There's no universe that's ever the right universe for them. They're just star-crossed lovers.
I mean, also, if they like have sex too rough, if like they're going at it too rough, it might cause an incursion. Like so, you got to chalk it up to
just a completely disgusting thing to say.
See, what?
No.
That's the reality.
I need.
No,
I really.
I don't know.
I
I don't
keep
know that
forgetting
was
this.
ever
I
said.
really need to. I really need to have a sound effect that means like full stop.
I'm
Full stop.
confused.
Completely.
What?
That
Because
was
no,
never
because-
said.
On the podcast on Wednesday, I was talking about Ventress and Obi-Wan. Y'all was like, John.
Yeah, you were too
Johnny.
horny, Jomi. Come on.
Like, come on now.
What are you
More-
talking about? You just talked about two people fucking the multiverse apart. Like,
She said
what's
something to that effect in the movie.
When did she say that?
At
don't
the
remember
end,
that.
when they're
When
in the evil Doctor Strange's thing, she's just like, "Yo, it would." She said something to the effect of it would have been wild. Like, damn, what would happen to our universe?
So wait a minute. So hold on. So you mean to tell me that two people having sex in the multiverse could destroy the multiverse, right?
I
But
mean,
people
two
punching
people
each other
from
in their
two people
face.
from different universes. If he's staying and they're
He's
having like a nice
kicking
weekend,
other
horny
people
weekend,
from other
you know,
universes in their faces and stuff. How come that's not? We're digressing again. This is what people don't like. Those wacky midnight boys. All right, Steve. Were you happy to see Christine come back and be in such a large portion of the movie?
Yes, I think she was criminally underused in the first Doctor Strange, and I think to use this as a sort of like gut check for Steven to like even the character of Steven himself, because like he kind of looks at her a little objectively in when he's like caught in prison and being like, look, listen, get us out of here. You clearly know me. It's all of this stuff. And she's like, shut up a little bit because you kind of fucked this up in your time and in your universe. And I'm just trying to do my job here. And if you're anything like the Steven I knew, you would have fucked this up with any of us as well. So like, I really like that. And she gets to kill a fucking demon at the end of it. It's fucking
She
cool.
does. She does. Mordo's back, Charles. Not the Mordo that we know. He got dreads, and it has nothing to do with the Mordo Doctor Strange one. No clue.
hate crime. I hate crime. That hairline, shit, bro. Like I'm like, man, come on, you couldn't get my man a
Is that
nice lace
racism in
front?
the MCU?
Fuck, bro. Like it was like when I first saw it, like I had seen it in the trailer, but seeing it on a big screen twice, in a week, I'm like, man, they hate black people. They don't want to see us prosper.
Yeah, see, my thing with that is that, I just don't know. That's how you know that like it's not black people on the set. Because I don't care who I was, bro. I could be like a PA, not even a key PA, just a PA, and I'm gonna look at you and tell I'm gonna be like, hey.
No.
Hell no.
It was looking real grim. It was
I
a little
literally
too
would have
bad
walked
there.
on set and I would be like, yo, I got a girl in Harlem who could like do you up. Like, it'll take 3 hours. Don't like charge us to the game. Like, we can't have you looking like this. Like, all right. And my thing is like, why didn't he not say anything? Like, he saw himself in the mirror. Like, he'd be like, guys, time out. We can't do this.
It's true. Now let me ask you guys a question. The Mordo makes me bring this back. Mordo's character in this movie doesn't have anything to do with the desires or the wants or the needs of the Mordo that we got from Doctor Strange 1. That guy is out to stop sorcerers from sorcering and stop magic users from magicking. We never picked back up on his story, at least we haven't yet. Due to that and other things that have happened, in this movie, would you guys say that this movie is actually a sequel to Doctor Strange?
No.
Spiritually, I think it is. I think spiritually it is a sequel in the loosest terms. And like Christine is here, the broken watch, the just kind of like they're trying their best to do it. But if I'm being real, no, because like it's just you wouldn't have even had to watch Doctor Strange 1 if we're being honest. You could have skipped it and been fine with this movie.
You could have skipped Doctor Strange. That's interesting. That's crazy. Sage, you mentioned that, but continue, Van. You had something to say.
That wasn't your point. Bro,
What's my
no,
point?
It wasn't, bro. Jomi.
We don't have time to relitigate it. We don't have time to relitigate it.
Jomi, you can't admit when you're wrong. And that's what makes me
can.
sad. That's what makes me sad.
And
that's why I know you're
this-
the youngest on this podcast.
No,
We
gotta get
got
off
on
of it.
this podcast.
You got to get off of it.
We got on this podcast at the end of No Way Home. Remember when I was wrong about the sling ring? I got on this podcast and said I
No,
was
we're gonna
wrong.
bring that up again.
Argued down. We
But
had
did
to
I-
prove it.
And
We
but when you
argued,
proved me wrong,
and
did
they-
I
and
not?
they- and it proved, and we proved it. They proved it again in this movie. And how stupid that shit was. That shit
It's
is
also
dumb.
it's like it's two different things, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, whatever. I don't want to talk about that no more.
No, we're talking about it later.
No,
Yeah.
but to Charles's point, I think it is a sequel. They bring the watch back. Christine is back, and I just think like it's how the MCU works. Like they're always trying different things. They're always trying to like reinvent like characters, from phase to phase. And so while there's not a ton of through lines from the first movie to this movie, I think the themes of Strange, like learning not to like A, not to be like a dick, and B, just trying to be like a better superhero. I think that runs through these two movies as themes. So yeah, I think it works as a sequel.
Strong point there, Jones. All right, Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi's in on this movie. He comes in, takes over for Scott Derrickson. And I love Sam Raimi. Me and Charles said on the rewatchables that Sam Raimi jumped into action with Spider-Man. And I don't know why. Army of Darkness, one of my favorite movies, slipped my mind. Sam Raimi is a great director of all different genres. I love him. Danny Elfman does the score of this movie. I hope all the fans of the rewatchables are listening to all the things that I'm noting about this film so that you know that we missed nothing. Okay. Could you guys feel the Sam Raimi in this? Chuck Wagon. Could you feel Sam?
I mean, definitely. I think what was very, very cool about this movie is I think sometimes a big gripe about the MCU is that you can't really feel the director's hand on it that much. I could feel Sam Raimi. Some of the kookiness, like Doctor Strange could have been a CGI zombie at the end. Like that could have all been CGI. And I know Sam Raimi's like, nah, man, we're doing this practical. It might look a little bit goofy and tactile, but that's what we want. Some of the cuts that he was doing were like super classic Sam Raimi, and some of the shit like was jarring. I was like, directors aren't using like cuts like this anymore or like transitions like this anymore. It's cool. And even like there's 2 points. Christine and Scarlet Witch both get that classic like Sam Raimi, I'm going to shove the camera in your face and shake it. And there's like the actors have to like freak out. It's just there's a campiness to it and there's a kookiness to it that I loved. And yeah, I don't think it works all the time. Sometimes it's like, oh, no, I would have cut that. But I just love that he took those risks. I was in love with a lot of the choices. What about you?
Yeah, look, I love Sam Raimi as a director. I thought that he brought a sort of freshness to it. He said that it wasn't so much a Sam Raimi movie as it was a movie that he was producing in the Marvel. I didn't feel that way at all. I could definitely feel him in there. I could feel some of the crazy shit that he does in the movie. I could also feel some of the little moments. There's a moment where Wanda's walking through the home that she's dreamwalked into. When she walks into, she's walking in the picture. The Wanda in the picture turns and looks at her.
Yeah.
It's a classic, off-putting horror type moment. It reminds me of one of the most terrifying scenes in the history of film to me. It's in the movie It, when the kid is in the library and he's reading through the book, and behind him, Pennywise is the librarian, and he's looking at the kid. He's looking at the kid from off screen, making a scary face. I was terrified.
How old were you?
35? 36?
This was a year and a half ago. This was
maybe 37?
Guys, I don't know. You guys know this about me. I didn't know what It you were talking about. I don't watch scary movies.
Oh yeah, no. The The second It Chapter 2 was kind of like whatever. The first It was
great.
fucking
So
amazing.
So good.
And terrifying. I was in there watching it I'm hitting Khalid. I'm like, look in the background. She's like, what? I'm like, look at the background. He's staring at the kid. But I like little movies like that, little weird shit in horror movies. Sam Raimi is a master at that. All right. So this movie went kind of heavy on the horror/violence aspects of it. All right. Anybody can answer. How do we feel about that from our Marvel fare? Are we into having a little bit more direct genre influence? We've seen some genre in Marvel, of course, but it hasn't been as heavy as movies like Logan, where they go straight genre. This movie didn't do that, but it got closer than other films have, in my opinion. Winter Soldier being the biggest genre film to me that Marvel's ever made, unless you're talking about comedies, and then you got Thor Ragnarok too, so whatever. But do you guys feel like this particular genre, horror/violence, is a good place for Marvel to go?
I couldn't be happier. I was genuine. Like, we'll talk about it more later, but like the genuine murder of the Illuminati at the hands of Wanda, I think was like incredible and genuinely like surprising that it got past Disney with what we saw.
Oh, there are multiple points in this movie where it's just like when Wanda,
that was a lot.
That was
over
insane.
his mouth.
That's
and
crazy.
He does his voice and his like head pops in this disgusting way. There was people in my theater who were just like, ooh, like, because you're not used to seeing that. And that's something that I actually think the MCU needs to dig into, where I'm just like, yo, there's little moments like that if you're doing a genre film that you can do that and make me like, oh god,
they are really
disgusting.
stretching that PG-13 rating with that
For
scene.
real.
That was incredibly
evil
violent.
Doctor Strange gets thrown out and gets like impaled by the fence. I was like, god,
That was the
damn.
one for me.
That was
I didn't
wild.
know you could do that. like I'm gonna be honest with you. That was the one for me. We've seen knives and people getting cut, and Thanos got his head cut off and all of that stuff. But that one was different. That one was on some fucking Bram Stoker's Dracula type shit. That was the one I was like, God damn, I can't believe they went there. Jones, horror movies. Your thoughts?
I thought it was great. I thought, like you said, seeing new things, seeing Marvel try new things was awesome. And just to see my man Reed go out like that, turn into noodles, bro.
Turn Reed into a noodle.
All right, we're gonna talk
God.
about. We're
I'll be
gonna
honest with
talk
you. You know who
about
really
that.
got the worst though? Who really got the worst was Captain Carter.
In
Captain
half.
Carter
They
Captain
killed my baby
Carter
mama. How
got
fucking
punished. And by the way, she didn't even hit a flip. She was barely doing nothing. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Captain Carter sucked, man. I'm gonna be real.
you want to get my agenda off, man.
Deep shot, man. I don't know if you want this, bro. I don't know if you want the smoke, bro.
We can't do this. We can't do this.
The mistreatment,
Not my
Peggy
wife. You
Carter
can't
by
do
the
my wife
cowards
like
of
I'm
that.
not
the
doing
Fuck
this,
all
bro.
that.
Look. I'm
Fuck
gonna
all
be real
that,
with you.
man.
I'm gonna be real with
Say
you.
what you want, bro.
Because this is my problem, and this is my issue. Sometimes I feel like they don't know how to handle these characters in a way that honors them. Right? She's out. Steve Rogers is the least powerful character in Marvel, but they always find a way. I know she had to lose the fight, but they always find a way to make him look like a boss. Got him catching Thanos' hand, right? Got him coming in against Proxima to Midnight and the rest of them and beating them in a fight with fucking Falcon on his team.
He also runs a route on Black Panther.
You know what I'm saying? Runs a route, fucking walk Black Panther down. Check out Twitter. And I felt like this was a chance for them to give Captain Carter super awesome stuff to do, and they gave her a tiny jetpack. And
I'm so mad.
And I really didn't. I wanted so much more. I fuck with Captain Carter, and Captain Carter just kind of got played a little bit. Anyway,
Here's my thing. When Black Bolt and Mr. Fantastic, some of the most powerful, smartest characters in Marvel comics, go out like that, and you got to spend like all that energy going against Captain Carter, I don't really.
All right,
I don't
wait.
see
If we're gonna do the Illuminati talk, I'm just gonna get this off really quick before we go into like.
well, we have to go into Illuminati later. I do want to say one thing before we get into Illuminati. We're gonna go into it right now because I want to say one thing about Raimi, and then Charles, you got to clear out the Illuminati. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
So, the music note fight we have to talk about.
Holy
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
Okay,
Oh
so
my
here's
God.
the thing.
The best
music-
part of this movie.
I say that the music note fight is a top 10 MCU scene ever.
Hard agree.
Top 10?
Hard agree.
All right, guys,
Hard
it's cool,
agree.
but top 10? Top 10?
Yes.
I think the music note fight is a top 10 MCU
All right,
scene.
we can
Cosign,
run
man. Cosign.
Whoa. No, I'm gonna call bullshit because it's a good scene. It's a really good scene, but top 10 is a little much.
I'm with
No,
Charles.
I'm with
Top 10
Van.
is a little
I'm
much.
with
I
Van
would
all
say
the way.
top 10 fight scene, top
All right,
5
whoa,
fight scene.
all right, no,
like it's
all
a
right,
great
no,
fight
okay,
scene.
say that.
Hey, hold on. I will say, when I say scene, I mean
Action
fight scene.
sequence.
Okay,
all right,
fight scene.
okay.
Yeah,
I mean
yeah,
fight
yeah.
scene.
That's
Okay,
a
no,
little
I'm not just
fair.
saying scene
All right,
ever.
all right.
Because then you got it. Because I got scenes in there that nobody talks about. Nobody ever talks about Tony talking with Howard Stark. No one ever talks about that. I fucking
True.
lose it. I throw my fucking popcorn at the screen, cry in front of the whole theater. Nobody ever talks about that. Talk about stuff like that. Steve and Agent Carter dancing cheek to cheek. One tear rolls down her eye.
Oh my God.
I'm like, what the fuck, Steve? Do your thing, baby. But the music note fight was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Who agrees?
Yes.
It was great.
Cosign, I'm with you. I'm with you.
For a second, I didn't realize what was happening until I was like, he's pulling notes off of the thing, and then when he's just like throwing them like ninja stars, and it's like notes from a piano, and like it's playing a fucking classical music piece. It's incredible.
No, but then
But
when
did
he
you
sees the
did you-
harp
and
and he sends the little note.
Did
the last
you
one-
realize though that the soundtrack and the score of the movie had that's what they were playing?
yes,
Yeah.
so good.
That is nuts, bruh.
That's
like,
crazy.
The score of the movie is what they were playing because as soon as that fight's over, the score goes back to normal. It is insanely inventive, and it makes you wonder what kind of movie that you might get if they let Sam Raimi just cook and go quirky wild. Because it makes me think sometimes that maybe he had 10 or 15 quirky ideas that they were like, that's too quirky. But no, the music note fight we like. And he was
I mean,
yes.
I'm gonna be honest. This ain't shots at like whatever, but like if we wanted a Moon Knight movie, I'm like, what type of like horror like Moon Knight movie would you get if Sam Raimi you let him just do it?
man.
That would be good.
You know what I'm saying?
Sam Raimi.
That would be nuts.
Also, you could do like Moon Knight Blumhouse too. $7 million. You know what I mean? Just a
Moon
suit.
Knight, Annabelle.
Just Moon Knight Blumhouse. $7 million. Just $7 million. Moon Knight in a suit. How about it?
Right.
How are we going to get the talking hippo, man?
You can't do that. You can't do none of that.
It's got
No,
to.
Lee's all right.
It's got to be just
You can't-
like
you can't-
in a
you can't
hippo
do that.
costume. Like that'll be.
You can't do none of that. You got $7 million. Everybody works for scale. Moon Knight's in New
Works for
York,
scale.
just fucking people up. Anyway,
That's how I know Van is on his producer shit. He's like, everybody works for scale. Like, everybody knows.
all right. The Illuminati, we got to talk about them. We delved into that a little bit. To the Illuminati, Charles, you said you had to take to get off when we were getting into the Illuminati situation. What you got for me, brother?
All right, so guys, like when the Illuminati came on screen, I was a fan. I was a fan, of course. I was screaming when John Krasinski came out. Like, guys, I know all the cool people on Twitter were like, "Fuck this fan casting, fuck this shit, fuck John Krasinski, whatever." Like, come on, bro. Like, I'm a human. I was just like, this is dope as hell. Like,
Do you think the consensus is going to be fuck John Krasinski as Reed
No,
Richards?
I think there's like cool people who are like, John Krasinski,
Oh,
what?
How typical. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm like, no, guys, it's John Krasinski. Like, Krasinski has like Reed Richards. I was like, this is dope as hell. Like, what is going on? My mind was exploding. But here's the nit I have to pick. The Illuminati are a collection of some of the smartest beings on this earth and on any earth. Reed Richards, especially. You know, in the comic books, Reed has a whole entire like Reed Richards like Council of Ricks type shit. Okay, he knows how to do this.
Yeah.
We get introduced to Reed Richards, the smartest man on earth, and he's gonna walk in front of Wanda and be like, "Wanda, stop! You can't do this." Reed, really? That was your one plan. That's your number one plan. You with stretching abilities are gonna take everybody and be like, "All right, we just gotta talk her down." Like, you don't have contingencies in the Baxter building. Like, y'all locked up Doctor Strange. Y'all can't do like, what are we doing here?
So this is the thing about Reed Richards, and it was great to see a new live action Reed Richards. First of all, Krasinski's slightly playing him wrong, but it was only like 3 scenes, so who knows? But he's playing him wrong.
Oh, all right. Before we go back to your other point, why do you think he's playing him wrong?
He's not playing him right.
You think he needs to be more arrogant?
He needs to be a little bit more.
He needs to be
a
like
little
above
bit more. Especially the Reed as he's being played now. This was like Christian camp counselor Reed Richards. You know what I'm saying? This was kind of.
I mean, Johnny K will give you that. He can give you.
I know, but Reed Richards, a guy who's trying to solve the problem of everything, a guy who makes multiple super difficult decisions at the expense of the greater good. He's not playing him. I'm not saying I don't like John Krasinski as Reed Richards. What I'm saying is he's got to stretch his legs a little bit. Pun.
I will say John Krasinski needs, like, Reed Richards is kind of like the future of the Marvel universe in terms of, like, he's constantly sonning Sue. Like, Sue, I got to save the world. Can you please not right now? Like, come on. Yeah. Like, so he needs a little bit more.
He's playing him wrong. And secondly, the Illuminati was some bitches. Like, if we keep it the gangster. So who we had Captain Marvel, we had Black Bolt, we had Xavier, we had Mordo. He should be fucking thrilled that he got that invite. More like
big ups for Mordo.
I loved how Strange was like literally like, dog, I know why you wanted to get me out of this universe so you could get my spot. Like you was riding the bench. You wanted to
go to the Rockefeller brunch.
Right. Yeah. And Captain Carter. They get dispatched pretty easy. And I guess that's supposed to be a measure of how powerful Wanda is. But it also read to me as sort of a measure of like how it seems like there's a disconnect between who the creators of this film and what the Illuminati have been in the comic books. Like they haven't even been something, to be honest with you, that they've been they're much more in the shadows, much more behind the scenes than to bring someone in front of them, admonish them, and then be in a situation where they could be killed. Not that the Illuminati haven't been directly involved in shit, but that it seemed more like fodder to just murk them than anything else. Steve, you got something?
I think, and it rubs up to my, like, what will be my biggest, like, problem with the movie. It's that it's very clear that for the sake of the story, the Illuminati exists to give the exposition to Stephen about what has happened to this previous Stephen Strange and why the Book of Vishanti is closed off to him, basically. And if it's purely exposition and to get murdered by Wanda, that's the only purpose that they serve for the case of this story. It's cool to see everybody. It's awesome that we get all of these characters screen time. But I think that when we start to talk about what problems we might have with Wanda, I think that a scene and storytelling tools like that can be used a lot better to a better purpose for what this story wants to do. That's my biggest problem.
Not only do I agree, but I think for like the fans who are like Illuminati, like if we go out a little bit more, Illuminati is introduced by this writer, Brian Michael Bendis. And in the comic books, it's supposed to be this collection of the world's smartest, most influential people. Professor X, Black Bolt, Black Panther, all of these type of
Namor,
people.
Captain America have been in it.
Yeah.
Iron Man, yeah.
Iron Man.
And then there's this creator, Jonathan Hickman, in his new Avengers run, basically introduces that the Illuminati have to stop the incursions. Incursions in the comic books are basically what they are in the MCU, is that like it's two universes colliding and they're going to destroy each other. And the Illuminati is kind of these people in the shadows being like, yo, we have to kill these universes before they kill us. And that's kind of what the reason that they're trying to dispatch of all the Stevens, because if Steven keeps hopping multiverse from multiverse using a Darkhold, he's going to invite an incursion. That's actually what happens with the evil Steven. So I was just like, I like the Illuminati scene for what it was, but I was like, if this is supposed to be a collection of the most powerful people and the smartest people on this world, why are you fighting Wanda head on? This makes absolutely no sense. Also, what we know of like Captain Marvel, I'm like, Captain Marvel's stronger than this. Like, why is Captain Marvel getting like thrown around like this? Like, same thing with Black Bolt. If I'm Reed Richards, I'm like, yo, Black Bolt, don't say shit. Just run out there and scream. I don't want, like, don't pause. Like, just scream. Just kill her. Like, we can deal with it later.
Don't catch her monologuing. None of this shit.
Like, why are you waiting? Like, just scream, Black Bolt. Kill her.
Yeah, less so with that, but I think it's just more of like it was clear as day what like the narrative purpose of all of this was for, and I was like, this could have been different. This could have been better. I won't rewrite the whole movie in like this one discussion, but like I think that was misused. I'll say
My two takes are that it was great to see the Fantastic Four or Mr. Fantastic on screen again. Fantastic Four is like my intro to superhero movies. I have a soft spot for the first film, so it was great to see a new Mr. Fantastic. Hopefully, the Fantastic Four in the MCU going forward. And my second point is this is a really tough beat for me, but seeing Black Bolt on screen before seeing any Agents of Shield people on screen again, like an MCU film, that hurt.
Right,
that was hurtful.
They brought my man back from the show that they had to cancel.
They brought Black
Joey, I'm going to tell you right now, stay hurt about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because that shit is never coming back.
Why are you so mean about that, Steve?
Why are they so mean about it? They're the one doing it.
That shit was whack, bro.
I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna hurt your feelings one more time, Jomi. It's wild. It's wild that the MCU, with all the money they have not upgraded the stretching CGI, because like I love John Krasinski, but when he stretched, I'm like, guys, come on, like. Come on.
String cheesed him.
Like, what are we doing?
That was cool. I will say that I wasn't expecting him to die, so seeing him die was kind of cool. But the Illuminati is pretty much almost like a mascot for, I think, some of the problems that people might have with the movie in terms of its bigness. The moment was supposed to feel bigger, right? You expected more. Okay, we get a cameo by Clea, should I say, in the cutscene. Okay, played by Charlize Theron. One of the worst cutscenes in the history of the MCU.
All right, no, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Right up there with the musical version of I Could Do This All Day.
All day. That song was great. That song was good. Yeah. No, Charlize Theron looked like Sindel from Mortal Kombat. Like that was. I will say, it was so funny. Like I was waiting, and like part of me was like, "Oh, that's Clea." Then the other part of me was just like, A, why does she look like that? B, like she just walked off the street. Like it's just like they filmed this on a blue screen, like on their off day. What is happening?
So let me go back to before we move to Wanda, which is going to be a doozy,
contentious. Yeah. Honestly, if you guys, if we might need to shadow protocol this.
That whole conversation, Wanda, I don't know.
Which is going to be a doozy. Okay. I want to say something about the Illuminati / Cameo corner part of this. So this goes back to what I was talking about earlier. The cameos that we got in this movie were the Illuminati and then Clea in the cutscene. Right. We also got Bruce Campbell, but we knew Bruce Campbell was going to be in the movie. It's kind of like a gag. It's good to see Bruce Campbell. I think there's a double-edged sword here in that if this movie would have had 150 cameos, there would have been people saying that these movies aren't about making good movies anymore and just about throwing us a million cameos. At the same time, we went to a film and didn't get any cameos, and it felt like we didn't get what we thought we wanted.
All right, so
which side of Cameo Gate are you guys on?
So this is a roundabout way of saying it, and I'm going to be honest, but I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once before this. A couple weeks ago, life-changing experience in terms of just like, this is why I go to the movies. It is a wonderful movie. Go support it. Go support your local cinemas. But that did something so crazy with the multiverse where every universe they went to, you're like, oh, this is like a silly universe. And by the end of the movie, you realize how emotionally resonant it is for the characters. Like you start feeling emotions for characters that have hot dogs for fingers. And you start kind of like, oh my gosh, like what are they doing for this? And I think the weird thing about Multiverse of Madness following this is that like there's not much madness and there's not much multiversal stuff in this. The universes themselves are not built up. They aren't things where I'm just like, I want to live in this universe. So I'd say all that to say with the cameos, I think there was a way in this movie where it doesn't feel like Cameo Gate just to get the fanboys excited. Every single cameo says something about the characters and the emotions, and you're building these universes where you want to live in them. And I don't know about you guys, but none of these cameos made me be like, I want to see more of this Mr. Fantastic. I'm like, no, I'll just wait for the movie. I don't want to see any more of this universe. Our universe is cooler. And that, I think, is actually the real sin of this movie. Is like, if you're going to call it Multiverse of Madness, I want to see a lot of universes, and I want them all to connect back to the story and make this an event.
It's really telling that, like, of all of the possibilities that we could have seen and been put on screen, it's just New York City with a bunch of plants and people are wearing hats.
That's what I'm talking about.
They're all wearing black and white for some reason.
Like, and that's it. And like, not so much that I didn't get enough of a color palette for whatever, like, the next multiverse movie could have been, but it's the fact that, like, for all of the things that this movie could have done, I think of the things that it should have done were very, very few. Like, Professor X came back. Patrick Stewart reprised his role to be Charles Xavier again, and we're not that over the moon about it. And that's probably a problem because you didn't tell a good enough story.
Jones.
Well, I mean, I think we knew Patrick Stewart was going to be in there, so even
but that's the thing. We were excited at the trailer when we freaked out when we saw the Super Bowl trailer. We just heard his voice and we were like, "Oh shit, it's over. We got X-Men. We got all these things. We got all these expectations." And then
expectations, I think, and this is something that we've talked about on and off. Like, I feel like ever since we started doing this podcast, it's like, what do you expect going into the theater when you, like, have your popcorn, you have your snacks, and you sit down? Like, your expectations will determine, like, how you felt about the film after you've seen it, right? If you went in thinking, like, we had the conversation at the end of WandaVision, right, where we were talking about during the thing, like, oh, X-Men, oh, the astrophysicist, Mr. Fantastic, Mephisto, right? And then to see none of that come to fruition, we're like, oh man, they didn't give us anything that we wanted. But were they trying to do that in the first place, or was that us? Was that the fan? Was that, like, us trying to figure things out, reaching conclusions that the show was never going to reach, right? And so with these movies, there's such conversations, such hullabaloo. This could happen, that could happen, da 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 da. And then when some of it happens or none of it happens, we're left the theater going, I expected so much more, even though the movie's trying to do its job to sell you, come watch it, everything's crazy. But in reality, we have to, like, you know, that's not for everybody, but, you know, we have to look back and be like, maybe did we expect too much from this film?
It's called Multiverse Madness. Like, at a certain point.
Well,
like,
that's the question. He's asking us a question.
It's a bigger thing. It's more than this movie. I'm not saying that this movie, like, you know, we should, you know, that we were like, oh man, the movie promised da da da. But for this specific movie, I think it gave us great stuff. You know, I think, like, for me, at least personally, the Mr. Fantastic stuff, that's good enough for me. Like, I did not see that coming at all. That was way out of left field.
I think
me.
the fulfillment of our expectations doesn't need to make a film worse, though, because when our expectations aren't met, then we have to make the sum total of the parts that what we do have. And what we do have when we're left with the end of this movie, are we happy with?
I think ultimately, I think my entire point is, like, when we think about these events, we think about these things, we have to talk about it for what it is and not what we wanted it to be.
It's impossible.
And that's, I mean, I go into it. I operate clearly on a different level.
Well, the only reason why I'm saying is because, number one, it's impossible for us to do that because first of all, we know these characters too well, right? So it's like the story arcs and the characters and stuff. We've been reading these characters since we were kids. So it's possible not to have any expectations. The question is, how do you and I don't know if that's even what you were saying, to be fair to you, but I think the question is, what are realistic expectations? Because if you sit down in a movie, you obviously are expecting to have fun. Mm-hmm. If you'd have gone to the movie and Steven didn't do one spell the whole time, you're going to be like, you can't come back and say, well, you shouldn't have expected to him to do a spell. Well, yes, I can. He's fucking Doctor Strange. Right. So he's going to do some spells.
Yeah.
The question is, should you expect him to do a spell that brings Hugh Jackman into the movie as Wolverine? That's the question.
Yeah.
Steve?
And and then we're in a wild, unprecedented time of insane expectations because there hasn't been like a pop culture experiment like the MCU to do this. Like
Right.
there hasn't been 10 plus years of movies that iterate upon characters over and over again to make us even think that this is possible. So when we go all off on these crazy tangents about what we think a movie could be, and then it's just left with something a little wanting, like is the question up on us to know that we need to keep ourselves in check, or has this just been a wild ride that we're just kind of starting to feel a little bumps on?
But can I be real? Like, and this might be like too much into the business of the shit. Like, if we're gonna keep it 100%, Marvel knows what they're doing. Like, this is like sometimes at a certain point where it's like they were game changers in making us sit in a theater and watch all of the credits, and then boom, something happens, and we sit and we're just like, oh, they're teasing Thanos at the end of Avengers? Okay, you got me for the next 5-6 years of my life. Yes. This is what Marvel, like there are entire industries, our podcast, YouTube videos on Easter eggs, things that they're teasing, things that might happen. Like so much of our enjoyment of the MCU,
Chuck is
like
cooking.
even directors themselves, Sam Raimi's be like, yo, I had to go back and shoot some stuff that they wanted me to put in the film just so they like the comic book stuff that will keep all of us coming back. So I do get the argument of being like, yo, are we kind of the assholes for having these massive expectations? But I'm like, yo, if the person who's making the meal has made their entire business on making us think this way, and other movies are now doing this, then I'm just like, yo, that's the double-edged sword. That's the nature of the business. You made us think that this is what we need to have fun at these movies. So like, yeah, there is a little bit of like, yo, if your own directors are saying like, I had to go back and like shoehorn in some stuff so that like I could keep this fan base, this core fan base happy. Like, yeah, that's the nature of the game.
So, and I'll say something to that. There's something else that happens here that people don't understand as well, or that I don't think we get, is that, you know, it used to be, there was this show that came on E. It was called Coming Attractions. It was about trailers.
Yes.
Right?
No,
He had that locked and loaded.
Don't do that.
He had that ready.
It was called Coming Attractions. It was about trailers, right? And because there wasn't like the internet, and at the time of my life, I wasn't going to the movies to see every single movie, to see every single trailer. The first trailer I remember actually being up on was I went to see Wing Commander just because it had the I went to see Wing Commander just because it had the Phantom Menace trailer on it. You know what I mean? So like, so I remember those were the first thing, but you had to, you know, by that time it was the internet, you could see the trailer, whatever. But Marvel and Disney, they have these big, great, huge events where they tell you the next 6 movies that are coming out. Right. And that didn't used to be like that.
Yeah.
You know, they tell you the next 6 movies that are coming out. They tell you all the movies in a phase, whatever they're going to do. They say Blade, and we go, okay, when are we going to see Blade? They go Mutants. Okay, we go, when are we going to see Mutants? They go Fantastic Four. We go, when are we going to see the Fantastic Four? And you have to split the baby here in some kind of way, in us looking forward and us staying focused on what's in front of the screen. Like there has to be something, like between us looking forward and us staying. Like there are people that were saying Gore the God Butcher was coming in Moon Knight. I'm like, yo, stop fucking talking to me, man. I don't want to hear that Gore the God Butcher, because I'm gonna start thinking that Gore the God Butcher is gonna come kill all the gods, and then if Gore the God Butcher doesn't come, I'm gonna be like, where's my Gore the God Butcher?
But then again, like we get all like, oh man, Reed Richards is coming in WandaVision, Mephisto, and we're like, oh, we're the assholes. We get a couple, and then Kang shows up in Loki, and we're like, it's like shit hits the streets again. We're fiends, and we're like, all right, in the next one, like you can't have it both ways. And I do think that like the thing that I'm kind of like, I don't want to be like, I'm going to be real about this. We've talked about this, Joe, me. We've had arguments about this. At a certain point, we've been trained that whatever Marvel is going to give us next is going to be just as exciting, is going to be better. And I think we're getting to the point now that we have like 5-6 Disney Plus shows and all of these movies where we're just like, yo, like the thing that you're giving me now isn't exciting me anymore. So how can I be excited for the next thing if like the thing like Winter Soldier did not need to connect to Infinity War for me to be like, all right, this was one of the greatest times in the theater.
Yeah. I think, and this is something we've talked about, is because at least at the end of Avengers, we get the Thanos tease, right? And so we know all roads lead to Thanos. And so all our expectations about Ultron 2, right? Our expectations for the next films are like, all right, how does it connect to that Ultron? How does this connect to Thanos? Right? We don't have that for this new phase of Marvel.
Yeah.
We don't have like a point to direct our attention to direct our theories to. So they're everywhere at this point. We're like, we know Fantastic Four is coming, we know mutants are coming, right? But we don't know when and we don't know how. So it's just a lot of we're reaching, we're grabbing this, that, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, that might be da-da-da. And because we don't have a place, we don't have like a future to look at, like, okay, here's the event that we're leading to. We're spread too thin, especially with all the films and all the TV shows. There's a lot going on, a lot coming quickly with no clear, like, all right, this is the event we're headed to. So we're just like all over the place in terms of our expectations.
Do you know what's crazy? Is Jomi, you're right emotionally. You are. But I think factually, and this is the most interesting thing about Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was the movie that told us where we're going. These incursions are obviously taking us towards Secret Wars, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we haven't talked at all about that because it wasn't done right. So
That's the thing. We know that.
We know
read
that.
The nerds
Yeah.
that read these books and all these things.
Yeah, so like with the incursions, and maybe that's just for us. Maybe the casual fan doesn't even talk about that.
Mhm.
But we know now this is the first movie that told us where we're going.
Yeah.
We're like the first movie that told us where we're going. That means at some point, in my mind, the Beyonders, God King Doom, like you know.
But Van, let me push back. Yes, this film did that with the incursions and everything, but it's not that visceral feeling at the Avengers where you see Thanos.
That's what I'm saying.
If you
That's what he's
saw
saying.
Doctor Doom, we'd all be like, all right, we're getting God Doom. Like, come on, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that, it's unfair that as fans we're like, that's what you need. But I'm just like, yo, Secret Wars is just this ethereal thing it's just a title. It's just incursions is just the thing they said. It's not like we see Thanos with the glove being like, all right, shit, we know it. Emotionally, I'm invested. I want it. And then when you see him in Guardians of the Galaxy, you're like, come on, bro. Like come on.
All right, Wanda time. Okay. Now I'm gonna go real quick.
Yo, this is an ISO play. I need you. Come on, man. Come on. We're clear.
Clear it.
The floor is yours, man.
Okay. So there's a name for something or somebody that is in a place with another entity and only reacts to what that entity does in the way that that entity wants them to. So if I'm in this room right now and there's somebody else in this room and whatever they do, I'm cool with it. Whatever they say, I go along with it. Whatever they want me to do, I do it. And I can't leave them because I'm too attached to them or they have me attached. That's called a hostage.
It's weird that you say that while Kalika's in the room, but yes.
Yeah, I was about to be like, Kalika is in the room.
She left. She left. And believe me, she's exactly where she wants to be, baby. I take a bow wow.
All right.
Sexy man. We have to make sure that we're fans and not hostages. Okay? We have to make sure that because part of this is that, like, even the John Krasinski thing, like, we spoke that into existence. We made that happen, really, right? Which is cool. But at the same time, what you really want is, as you want these filmmakers to be able to go into these movies and be inspired in a real way to make the art that they think tells the story of these characters that we love so much. You guys kick Ryan Johnson's ass after he made The Last Jedi. And it ended up being one of the better movies that we've ever seen in the history of Star Wars, but the fans couldn't help it because the fans couldn't help it. Look, I don't want to see Luke Skywalker turn into an asshole either, but at some point, we have to make sure that we're not hostages to nostalgia or to our childhood. This leads into what I'm about to say about Wanda. It's okay for me right now to say that what happened to Wanda Maximoff in this movie is a fucking disgrace. All right.
Speak on it. Speak on it.
What happened to her in this movie is a disgrace for many reasons. Number one, in all of these movies that we talk about, we see dads in the movie. I shudder to think, and I'm sure the Midnight Mob and writers out there will be able to think of one, where fatherhood is used as a way to make some dude become like the worst version of himself. Like he loves his fatherhood makes guys superheroes. Fucking Taken, Commando, whatever. John Q, whatever it is. Fatherhood makes guys go to the best. Wanda's essential issue is that she's a mom who loves her kids too much. And the love that she has for her children, she's also lost a shit ton. Joe made a great point in the group chat that Wanda also created a whole fake town because she had gone through so much loss, and maybe there's something inside of her that's making this. But to me, that's overshadowed by the fact that an Avenger is killing people left and right. Killing people in Carmitage, trying to kill a child, chasing her through different universes, trying to kill her because of her own children. I think that's gross. I think it's gross that they took Wanda Maximoff and made her into this. I think it's a weird choice. I think almost if the movie wasn't going to be, Wanda Maximoff is a singular character in Marvel in that because of storylines like the House of M storyline, she can be someone that, because she's a Nexus being, can reset everything and start a new universe. She has done that in the comic books before. It made sense with Wanda Maximoff as the villain in this story if that is what was going to happen. If this cameo-laden, super multiverse, huge reality shifting event was going to happen in these comic book, in this movie, it made sense to have her as a villain. If not, it doesn't. It makes no sense to have her make that turn if that's not what was going to happen. And leaving that, when that was the deal, I was kind of pissed off. I was like, well, what the fuck? Why would you do her that way? Like it just seems like for everything that she's lost, a brother, 2 only half real sons, her whole country, like her parents, vision, for everything that she's lost, then to turn around and make her the shithead, I felt away. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, so I'm
Kalika
gonna take
thinks
that.
I'm going too far. I think
Going too far.
I think Kalika thinks, baby, you want to go get a drink later?
Yo.
Okay.
So I'm gonna
We
take
go
that one
downstairs,
step
get a drink in the
further.
hotel. Yeah.
I think that the movie in the beginning does something that I do think is smart. And if they went down this line, I thought this is a better movie where Wanda says effectively to like Strange, like, yo, what makes you a hero and me a villain when we do the same exact thing? And throughout this whole movie, we're supposed to think of Stephen Strange as this heroic figure. Even when Stephen uses the Darkhold, which everybody is demonizing Wanda for using, he's the hero at the end of this. And Wanda is in this trope of a woman who cannot control her emotions, who loves too much. If she can just, Wanda, everybody's like, Wanda, could you calm down? Could you just, it's this very disgusting trope. And I think that when I was watching the movie, I'm like, there's a version of this where Wanda is like, I don't know, any movie, Finding Nemo, where she is on a mission to find her kids. Like, that is fine. I think that is well and fine. And maybe it gets a little out of hand. But to say the Wanda that we know from WandaVision, who has gone through all of this in the span of a couple months, is going to be a kid killer, to have happiness is like, I don't know. It's kind of like a character assassination.
Still kids from some other mother.
That's
do exactly
what I'm saying,
to her what do exactly to this woman what happened to her.
And the whole of WandaVision is us realizing not only how much she loves her kids, but how protective she is. So for us to look at Wanda and be like, yeah, she's going to hurt another woman, even if it's herself, and she's going to make these kids go through this traumatic event. I'm like, guys, like, this is not the same character. This is just not the same character we were introduced to. You feel cheated. And I know I'm going to let Steve go because Steve was the person who kind of like, was just like, dog, like, y'all know this is fucked up. And I'm like, yeah, it's fucked up. And then Steve went in and I was like, oh shit. So Steve, ISO, go.
I found this to be not even so much like a disservice or disgrace like Van said, but an active regression from what we saw in WandaVision. Like it is not congruous to what we had just seen in WandaVision for anybody who has seen like the acceptance of loss that she had to go through at the end of that. And then while still, taking the Darkhold and learning, these new powers as the Scarlet Witch, to simply become something that is completely antithetical to who she was in the prior TV show. And then try to convince us that she is then fine with, killing kids, taking all of these means to basically destroy lives for her own ill-gotten gains. The idea that is our Wanda makes zero sense. The fact that it could be a Wanda, possible, but like the fact that this is us, absolutely insane. And the like danger of this, and it's the only word that I could think of to use is danger of this is when we came out of this movie. I had overheard like a group of guys and then one girl talking about this. She was upset about how this happened to Wanda, and the guys were all like, well, she had the Darkhold. It's all like you hand wave it about. Don't worry about it. And this is where I'm like, I don't expect MCU movies to have like the most like on the nose gender politics or poignant things to say with gender and everything. But when you have someone who's a mother become incredibly powerful and that being their like ultimate weakness throughout the entire film, you better know what you're saying after that.
Or her only want. The only want that Wanda, like, she's not a nuanced character. The only thing that we know about her is she only cares about motherhood and her kid. I'm just like, moms and women in general, like, are more nuanced than that. Why does Doctor Strange get to have this whole interior life, but the only thing we learn about Wanda in this movie is that she will kill people and children for her own children? And also, I'm going to be honest, I know she's probably not dead, but I was a little kind of like, really, what we're learning at the end of this is that she has to sacrifice herself. She has to kill herself for the universe. And that's the big play. I was just like, no, why are we doing this?
That don't help the people in Carmitage.
No. Nah, Steve.
That don't help them people in Carmitage. She killed the people. She was killing people.
And to think that, like, again, I'm sure that this is probably not the last that we see of this Wanda Maximoff. I certainly hope not. But it isn't until it is. And if this really is the last we ever see with her, this is a fucking travesty of what they've done to Wanda.
Steve, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, the movie just goes, oh, she's been with the Darkhold. The Darkhold has corrupted her, da-da-da. But the optics are not good regardless, man. It just looks like she's a crazy mother trying to find her kids and is doing whatever it takes. Being, like, somebody who, at the end of the last time we saw her, was an Avenger, was a hero, and now she's a serial murderer. Mm-hmm. That's not it. Like, that's just not it.
The more and more I sat with it, like, and I don't want to rewrite the entire movie, but it got me more mad that we had like a whole 20 minutes with the Illuminati and not even something to give us, like, if you want to take Wanda down this path, as terrible and dark as it is, reinforce it with some narrative structure that actually lets her bulldoze through everything that she used to be. Like, the fact that we didn't see any version of Vision in this movie to try to like talk her out of this or talk her down or try to save her from any of this, to truly get us to understand how bad the Darkhold is or how she's fighting herself, that's terrible. You could have easily taken out like 6 cameos and 20 minutes and given us that, and I would have actually liked that.
Do you know why Vision doesn't care anymore? Because
he ain't
white
the dad.
Now.
Because he's white now.
Charles, you knew that was coming.
Vision is white now.
Deshaun is dead.
And Vision is white now.
Right.
Okay?
It's true.
So the reality is, Vision don't care about like people that are dealing with motherhood and child care issues. That's not his thing.
Right.
He doesn't give a fuck
He'll
about
actually
that.
duck the child support. That's
Yeah,
right.
Vision doesn't care about anything like that. Vision is white now, and because he's now white, he's somewhere on a boat hanging out. You know what? I would be surprised if Vision was Elon Musk. I wouldn't be surprised
Damn.
if that. Vision now.
I mean, his body is worth enough.
You're gonna,
now
you're gonna get us kicked off Twitter. Like,
get us kids. I wouldn't be surprised if he's Elon
oh wait,
Musk.
and while we're on this corner, I just will say, I need the MCU to very, very quickly tell me what the rules of the multiverse were, because I did kind of a chuckle when they're just like, people's dreams are visions into the multiverse, and I was just like,
Alien.
That was hokey.
Here's the thing.
That
This
was
is all-
hokey. Yeah.
It's all comic books. It's all silliness. It's
Yeah,
all magic. It's
yeah,
all nonsense.
yeah.
You could sell us on that. You
Nah.
could sell me on it. You could. We
Eh.
saw a zombie Doctor Strange. Fucking awesome, by the way.
I was like,
Zombie Doctor Strange was cool.
Yeah,
Zombie
he was
Doctor
alright.
Strange is cool.
And people kept saying
Yeah.
that this was going to be the introduction into Marvel Zombies. Something else, the fans, we got to do. Just know that leak culture is also influencing these things.
Yeah.
I think that they put the Illuminati, the cat came out of the bag with that and Xavier and all of that stuff because the leaks had already let you know
Right.
that was going to happen. So because the leaks were already out, and I don't think they thought they had a super duper strong movie, then essentially at the end of it, they were money grabbing. They were like, Xavier's in the movie, come see it. You don't know what else could happen. Nothing else happens, but Xavier's in the movie, come see it. So at the end, they're like, we need a big opening weekend. So we gotta let people know that the shit that they're talking about as far as the Illuminati or whatever, it's in the movie. Don't speculate. It's here. Go see it. Because you want to see that scene.
I know for a fact that if Mephisto ever shows up in any MCU movie, it will be the people at the Ringer that made it happen, because we will never shut up about it.
Never.
I would prefer that
right.
we did, actually.
All right. Cool. All right. Midnight Media rankings. Clockwise.
I don't know what clockwise
Yeah,
means
we
to
all
you
have
on a
different-
Zoom, but
Different Zoom things.
Oh, do we all do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't know that. I thought that my Zoom thing was the same as
No,
y'all's Zoom.
Steve
thing.
is in the
it's-
top left, right, for everybody.
you can
Steve is
click
in
and
the top
drag and
left
move
for me.
people around.
And
And
Joey,
then
where are you? Joey, where are
Steve
you?
is second.
Steve's second. I'm right. So mine is Steve, Van, Jomi, Charles.
And mine is
Jomi,
This
Steve,
is why we're
Jomi,
not
Van
House of R.
Charles.
This is the
Steve,
exact
Jomi, Van.
conversation that
this
makes
is shit we get hung up on. It's like, oh, Zoom could go clockwise? Okay.
Why'd you sound like
Fuck
that,
y'all.
Steve?
I didn't know.
Why'd you sound like that?
I really didn't know that shit. I don't give a fuck. I don't care what y'all say.
All right, let's go. Jomi, Steve, me, Van. Midnight
cool.
Media rankings.
Midnight
Jomi.
Media Rankers. Jomi,
All right.
go.
Gotta give it an 8. I thought it was an enjoyable movie, but just a lot of stuff that really didn't work. But still, like Elizabeth Olsen, I know we talked about it earlier. She's fantastic.
She's
You know,
great.
she's so good, and even the stuff that doesn't work, you're like,
She
but the stuff
works.
that does work is enjoyable. Xochitl Gomez, Benedict Cumberbatch are solid. I give it an 8 on the Midnight Meter.
We talked a little bit off air with Jomi, and he mentioned this movie not exactly being the sum of its parts, and I consider it to be just parts. And with that, I want to give it a 6. It is very fun. It can be very fun at times.
Oh boy.
But I found myself getting very upset the more and more I sat with it.
Coke baby Steve, you taking the crown from me this episode. God damn.
Yeah.
Shit.
It
All
was
right.
tough because it gave us some of the most fun moments I've had in the MCU. I still will say that music fight is one of the most incredible things
Great.
the MCU has
It's
ever
great.
given us. It's
I
great.
like their other scenes. I like Wanda snatching people up through the water. That
Crazy
was scary
cool.
as hell.
Crazy.
Oh, when she
Mhm.
comes through the mirror and she's like the contortions of her body, that shit was scary as
Yeah,
hell.
it's good.
Nuts.
It's scary. Yeah.
When the chasing
The
in
movie
in,
is not
in the
whack.
Illuminati. Yeah.
Yeah. The movie is not whack.
So
See?
I think I'm gonna
I
I'm
mean-
gonna split the difference between Jomi and Steve. When I came out of this movie, at first I was like 8, definitely an 8. I saw it a second time, and I have to give it a 7. Like once I was concentrating on it, and saw it all again, I was like, this is a 7. Like a good movie,
Right.
like you're saying, Van, not whack. Like this is like
Yeah.
I had a fun time in the theater, but like the flaws make it a 7.
It's a 7, and I think 7 is good. I think these are good scores. I'm surprised at Steve's 6, but Steve really made his case in this podcast to his issues with this movie. I would say 7. Really 6.5, but we don't do 0.5s.
Right. We don't. No, we do not.
But
You're rounding up. You're rounding up.
I really wish that I could look past it. I really wish I could, because there really are fun things to this, but like I can't.
I would say 7. Look, and in the grand scheme of things, 7 is not that bad. But the fact that we all thought this movie was going to be an 11 or a 12.
Oh, right. I thought that this was going to be like top tier Marvel.
Yeah.
Reinvigorated. Okay, you're going to take me through the next 5 years. But we have one more thing before we go. We got to rank our Phase 4 movies of the MCU.
Rank them all. Okay, so in Phase 4, there's Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I will go first since I went last time. The best movie of this phase is Spider-Man No Way Home. The second best movie is Shang-Chi. The third best movie is Eternals. The fourth best movie is Black Widow. And I fucked this up. Once again,
I was gonna say, wow, bro, you were coming in.
I'll do it again. What? Number 1 is Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 2 is Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Number 3 is Shang-Chi. Number 4 is Eternals. Number 5, you know what? Number 3 is Eternals. Number 4 is Shang-Chi.
This graphic's gonna be really fun.
No, number 5 is Black Widow. Number 3 is Eternals. Number 4 is Shang. Doctor Strange. So
my brother in Christ. Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Number 1, Spider-Man
millions of
No
dollars
Way
on the
Home.
line here.
Number 1, Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 2, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Number 3 is Eternals. I'm sorry. Number 4 is Shang-Chi. Number 5 is Black Widow.
Okay.
Oof.
Wow. Emotional roller coaster.
All right, I'll go next. Number 1, easily by a mile, Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 2, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Number 3, Shang-Chi. Number 4, Eternals. And number 5, Black Widow.
Okay. I will go Spider-Man No Way Home for number 1. I will go Shang-Chi number 2. I will go Doctor Strange. No,
stick to your guns. Stick to your guns.
It came out of my mouth. I put it back in.
Don't
I put it back in.
Put it back in.
I put it back in my mouth. I put it back in my mouth. I came up a little bit. I put it back out. It's Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Eternals, then Black Widow.
All right. So I'm gonna. Yeah. First is Spider-Man No Way Home. Second is Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Third is Shang-Chi. Fourth is Eternals. And last, but certainly least, Black Widow.
Damn.
At the bottom.
I just watched it. It's not that bad, man. It's
Black
cool.
Widow?
Yeah, it's cool, bro.
It's
cool. It's just not it.
Yeah, it's just not it.
All right, guys. We did it.
Woo!
Multiverse of Madness pod in the books.
Are you guys excited?
They're going to have a field day with our asses. There you go, DJ.
I have one last question to ask all of the Midnight Boys.
Yes.
What's up?
These movies are Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Look at these films for Phase 4. Do you think that Marvel is in a slump?
All right, so I'm not going to put, I'm going to do this because I've been waiting so long. Because I am Coke Baby Chuck. I know my role on this podcast. I know my role, okay? I'm the hater. People call me the hater. People fuck him, get him off. I get it. There was a moment where our man Joe-Me, the most positive man I know behind Logan Murdoch at The Ringer, was like, bro, what's going on? He had a real crisis of what is going on in the Marvel universe. Do you want to claim this, Joe-Me?
I was going to say it. I was going to get on my soapbox and be like, listen, most MCU phases go, at least the first 2 were 6 films, right? And now we're 5 films in with Thor Love and Thunder coming out in July. And we have barely an inkling of what the MCU holds for us at this point. Right? At the end of Avengers, we got the Thanos tease, right? And at the end of Avengers Age of Ultron, we got Thanos picking up the gauntlet and saying, fine, I'll do it myself, right? We had a through line to where we're going. It's just vibes here at the MCU right now, right? Which is cool, right? Except for the fact that the movies have been meh to, okay, this is cool, but what does this have to do with anything?
You
right?
called this a Bryson Tiller album. God damn, Jeremy.
It's just the truth, right?
Just
There's
vibes and nothing else?
There's no Winter Soldier. There's no Guardians of the Galaxy. There's no Thor Ragnarok. There's no Black Panther, at least so far in these 5 films, right? And so since Endgame, which was 2019, we haven't seen like the MCU greatness like year after year that we're supposed to. Now there was a pandemic in 2020, like, we understand.
Gotta give a little grace for that.
But
all right, so Jomi, answer this. Is the MCU on Pack Watch?
No, I wouldn't say Pack Watch.
It's not Pack Watch.
It's not Pack Watch. But you get it's like it's no.
Go extra.
No, we're speaking like it's kind of like we're looking at James Harden now. We're like, hey man, you're looking a little. You don't look the same,
Nigga,
my guy.
I can't do the MCU as James Harden, bro.
you got,
bro.
Let's be honest.
Put on 30 pounds to get transferred.
We being too harsh.
Let's be honest. But we looking at him differently.
You trying to say the MCU can't carry a team in the playoffs?
I didn't say all that. I'm saying we're looking at him a little different now.
Damn.
Like,
the MCU
man,
only shooting 33% from the 3.
Are you just saying that are you saying that the MCU needs to get out of the strip club and back on the court? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that maybe you got to get out the strip club, right? And start focusing on like, hey man, what was you doing back then? Maybe the MCU doesn't have the same burst it used to. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe.
That's a conversation like we should keep that in the back of our minds. I still think like James Harden, there's another level that you can reach. Maybe you're not old. Maybe you just phoning it in right now.
Right.
But we can't sit here on our laurels and think MCU is great. It's always been great. It's continue to be great. Let's just say it's great. We got to look at these things critically. I can't believe me and Chuck are on the same thing, but it's really like we got to look at it and be like,
excited. This is like my fucking birthday. Like y'all called me a hater, and I was like,
baby Jomi.
We got to look at it and be like,
baby Jomi, come on,
baby Jomi.
We should get more.
Steve, what you got?
I don't know if I want to go as far as to say a slump because I think what it really lacks is kind of a North Star. I think it needs an actual thing to point itself at. And that what I think is missing. I think that these movies could be obviously better, but I think in a vacuum, all of them are good, defined. But I think it's like if this pattern keeps up, I'm willing to go with you on this because I think we need some goalposts to point to. We thought it was Kang. We thought it was the multiverse. We thought it was something. It hasn't been said. Like we haven't been reinforced with where we're all going to as a collective group. But instead, it's just vibes, which I think I'm okay with for now, but short leash.
Van, before I go, I've been waiting for you to give me this explanation. You got to tell the people, you had to take that Michael Jordan was bad for the NBA. You didn't give us our take. Endgame might have been bad for the MCU.
So
post-credits.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So I wrote this piece one time, and it was called 5 Reasons Why Michael Jordan Was Bad for the NBA. It was a long time ago, so I only remember a couple of them. Well, one of them was that he moved the game out of the perimeter. It was the death of the big man was one of them. That has kind of changed now. Another one was that he left the Hall of Fame graveyard where all of these greats didn't get any rings because Jordan was sucking up all the ring. And he made the league even more into a star-driven league, which changed all. So all of these things I looked into a reason why one guy that is that big and that is that dominant is bad for a league. It's great for a league in the overall. Overall, of course, Michael Jordan was fantastic for the NBA, fantastic for basketball. But there are downsides to having one guy be that singularly dominant over your league. There's always going to be a negative. Endgame, to me, reminds me of that. Because what Endgame really served to do, more than any other movie, was to shift our expectations of Marvel. Yeah. Everything that we're talking about is coming post-Endgame, right? Everything after Endgame, right? Endgame was much theorized over. Endgame was much ballyhooed. Endgame was, we thought about it incessantly, and it went beyond, at least in that final hour or whatever, what we could have ever imagined we would feel in the movie theater. Since then, there's been a spot in our fan DNA where we are looking for the same feeling that we got when Cap picked up Mjolnir, when they yelled Avengers Assemble. We are looking for that. We are craving that. We are looking so deeply into it, even if we're not doing it like consciously. Subconsciously, that movie was so big. We're expecting to be able to have those moments again, and we might never. So it's not that Endgame was it set out to change our expectation matrix for the entire MCU. It's just that it did. It actually did do that. It actually was so big that now we're like, okay, when are we going to get to the next moment where we're all yelling in the theater? And the reality is Shang-Chi wasn't going to be that. The Eternals weren't going to be that. Spider-Man No Way Home, we actually conned ourselves into believing that was that when it really wasn't. And then Multiverse of Madness, we kept waiting for this feeling of Jesus Christ, fucking Jean Grey's going to pop out. Deadpool's going to pop out. Fucking
Tom Cruise is Iron Man.
Tom Cruise is Iron Man.
We all believe that for a second.
We're gonna get. We all made out. We made them out because we're chasing a high now. And Endgame took 10 years to get to, and we didn't really feel that way so much before the movie, and we kind of haven't felt that way since. And it'll be a long time. But I'm telling you, somewhere in our fan DNA. Just on accident, that movie might have set an unlivable standard for Marvel. Even though Infinity War is probably the better overall movie, the moments in Endgame might have fucked us a little bit.
Well, I'll say in closing, I think the thing that I get it, I am a hater. I wear that badge proudly. But I think after watching Multiverse of Madness, I think sometimes the reason I want more from the TV shows, I want more from the movies, is because as fans, if we let certain things slide, as dumb as quarter flipping seems, as dumb as why is Ned able to use the sling ring so easily, as dumb as that seems in the moment, and we laugh and we have fun, I'm just that does become a trend if we let certain things slide. Then we get to a moment like Scarlet Witch in this movie where we're like, this character does not line up with what I know. I feel betrayed because this doesn't feel like what I've invested time in with this character. And I think Multiverse of Madness, entertaining movie. I had so much fun. But I think as fans, we have to demand we want more. Sometimes the reason the MCU got here is because they didn't slip up that much, is because they stuck the landing. And that's kind of what I want. Again, it's
true.
Yeah.
You guys, that's a wrap. It's a monster pod, guys. Monday, the House of R is going to come back. And if we went 140.
Shit, 3 hours. We want to make bets. We want to make bets. How long do you think?
I think they're going to go. two and a half easy.
I think 245. If I'm being 245.
Monday, the House of R returns to deep dive into Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. Thursday, next week, we're going to have a strange mega mailbag. It's going to be interesting. Not only will the mailbag be strange, but it'll be about the movie. Ha ha! Smart.
Got him.
Producer credits. Our producer is Steve Almond Joy, the cuddly lover bear. Jomi the Explainer Aditeron on socials, #FreeJomi on social media. And additional production by our very loved and esteemed colleague, Arjuna Ramgopal, who we love. You guys, we appreciate and love Arjuna. Charles, please take us out.
The Multiverse of Madness is over, and we cannot wait for what is next. And I'm sad to say that if Doctor Strange and Christine bump it, they're going to have some incursion sex.